Chosen one. Get ready, a large amount of unexpected money is coming somewhere in the world right now. A person who spent years praying the same prayer, working the same grind, holding on by the same thin thread of faith woke up this morning to a number in their account that made them drop their phone. Not because they finally cracked the code, not because the perfect strategy finally clicked, not because luck decided to show up after years of absence. Because God finished building something He started long before that person even knew to ask for it. And the part that will shake you, the part that I need you to really sit with before we go any further, is that person had no warning, no logical preview, no external indicator that today was the day. Their circumstances, the week before it happened, looked exactly like the week before that, and the month before that. Nothing suggested it was coming. And then it came. I want you to ask yourself something honest right now. Not out loud. Just inside, in that private space where your real thoughts live. What if that's your story? What if the reason nothing around you is signaling the shift yet is not because the shift isn't coming, but because it hasn't finished being built? What if you are 7 days away from a financial change that no spreadsheet, no logical analysis, no reading of your current circumstances could have predicted? Stay with me, because everything I'm about to share today was written for exactly where you are right now. Let me talk about something that doesn't get named often enough, because naming it is the first step to being free of it. There is a particular kind of pain that lives at the intersection of genuine faith and prolonged waiting. It is not despair, despair has given up. It is not doubt, doubt has stepped back from the edge. It is something more complicated and more personal than either of those. It is the pain of hoping accurately. Hoping accurately means you genuinely believe. The breakthrough is coming, not as a performance of positivity, not as a spiritual obligation you feel you have to maintain, but as a real, bone-deep, knowing that something is in motion, even when everything visible says otherwise. And the painful part is that the knowing doesn't make the waiting shorter, it makes it more acute. Because when you know something is coming and it still isn't here, every passing day has a specific weight to it that the person who has stopped believing doesn't feel. You feel it, every day. You feel it when you check the balance and it says the same thing it said last week. You feel it when an opportunity seems to open and then quietly closes before it fully materializes. You feel it when someone around you receives what you've been praying for and you have to do the complicated internal work of being genuinely happy for them while privately grieving that it wasn't yet your turn. And you feel it most in the moments when you're alone, no audience, no obligation to perform okayness, and the question surfaces that you've been holding under the water of your faith for a long time. Is it actually coming? Or have I been reading the signals wrong? You have not been reading them wrong. And what I want to do today is not just comfort that question, I want to answer it with truth that is specific enough to hold on to and deep enough to actually shift something in you. 10 truths about the large, unexpected money already moving toward your life. Unexpected money is not an accident, it is the conclusion of an invisible process. The first thing that needs to change is how you understand the word unexpected. When we say unexpected money, the human mind defaults to thinking about luck, a windfall, a fortunate coincidence. Something that had no origin, no cause, no traceable history. It just happened because the universe was feeling generous on a particular Tuesday. But divine unexpected money is something categorically different. It is not without origin. It is without visible origin. There is an enormous difference. Everything God sends into a person's life has a history. It was conceived in prayer, sometimes the person's own, sometimes the prayers of people who loved them and interceded on their behalf years before the answer manifested. It was prepared through the experiences that shaped the person into someone capable of receiving it. It was routed through a network of people and circumstances and timing decisions that were being orchestrated long before any of it became visible. The financial shift coming your way right now has a history that predates your awareness of it. The people who are about to be instruments of it may already know your name, may already be thinking about you, may already be in a conversation about something that is connected to what you've been praying for without you having any knowledge of it. Unexpected doesn't mean uncaused. It means the cause was operating in a realm you couldn't see. And now the effect is approaching the surface, which is the part you do get to see, and it's going to look sudden and miraculous and shocking, not because it appeared from nowhere, but because the process that produced it was so carefully hidden that its arrival is going to feel like it came out of thin air. It didn't come from thin air. It came from years of careful, invisible, divinely orchestrated preparation. And it is almost ready to surface. The size of what's coming was calibrated. To the size of what you survived, I want to say something to you that I need you to receive without deflecting, without minimizing, without the reflexive humility that good people sometimes use to talk themselves out of believing they deserve something significant. What is coming toward you is large, specifically, purposefully, intentionally large. Not randomly large, calibrated large. Sized according to a specific measurement that is directly related to the difficulty of what you walked through. To get here, God does not issue arbitrary blessings. He does not pull numbers from a hat when deciding the scale of a financial shift in a chosen person's life. The scale is connected to the preparation, and the preparation the particular depth of difficulty, the specific quality of sustained faithfulness under sustained pressure, the unique combination of loss and endurance and character development that your specific journey produced has produced in you a specific capacity. That capacity is what determines the size. Think about it in physical terms. You don't give a container more than it can hold. But the preparation process, the process you've been living through, has been expanding your container. Every trial that seemed designed to break you was actually redesigning you, making you larger on the inside, building the capacity for more than you had the infrastructure to hold when the season started. The version of you that began this difficult season and the version of you. Sitting here now, they are not the same size spiritually, emotionally, or in terms of capacity for stewarding financial abundance. You have been expanded, quietly, painfully, persistently expanded. And now the measure of what is sent matches the measure of what has been built. Large was always where this was heading, because the process was always building toward large. The timing you've been frustrated with is the timing that makes it last. Let me address the timing question directly. Because I know it lives in you even if you don't always voice it. Why now and not sooner? If the blessing was always coming, if it was always this size, always this real, why has it taken this long? What was the purpose of all the time between the promise and the delivery? Here's the answer that I've seen proven true again and again in the lives of people who received large, unexpected financial shifts, and then kept them, built with them, and multiplied them across years. Early delivery would have produced early loss, not because they were bad people, not because they didn't deserve it, but because the specific combination of wisdom, groundedness, relational discernment, and financial maturity required to steward something large over a long period of time, that combination takes the time it takes to develop. And it cannot be developed in comfort. It cannot be purchased with shortcuts. It cannot be downloaded into a person who hasn't lived through the experiences that deposit it. The person who receives a large financial shift in the middle of unresolved character issues loses the money while working through the character issues. The person who receives the same shift after the character work has been done has a foundation strong enough to build on, rather than a new pressure that accelerates the unraveling of an unstable inner life. God knows the difference, and He times delivery to the completion of the foundation, not to the urgency of the need. Your foundation is more complete than it's ever been, which is why the timing is what it is. And when the shift arrives and you look back at the road that led here, the timing will be the thing you are most grateful for, not in spite of how long it took, but because of exactly how long it took. The channel is already open, you just can't see it from where you're standing. Here is a mental picture I want you to hold on to, because it captures something about your current situation that logical thinking alone has trouble grasping. Imagine standing at the base of a mountain. You can see the ground around you. You can see the sky above you. But you cannot see what is on the other side of the mountain, the valley, the river, the resource that is moving toward you from that direction. The mountain blocks the view, not permanently but completely from where you're standing. Now imagine that on the other side of that mountain, a river is flowing, wide, full, moving steadily in your direction. It can't be heard yet. It can't be seen yet. But it is real, it is moving, and the moment it comes around the base of the mountain, you will hear it before you see it, and see it before you understand how close it was all along. Your financial breakthrough is on the other side of your mountain. The mountain is not an obstacle to the river, it is simply what currently blocks your view of it. The river is not waiting for the mountain to move. It is moving around it toward you, on a path that leads directly to where you're standing. The channel is already open. The money is already moving. The distance between where it currently is and where you are is being closed right now, in real time, through the movement of people and circumstances and decisions that you will understand in retrospect, but cannot fully see in the present. Stop trying to see over the mountain. Trust the river. It knows the way. What you're supposed to do while the money is still in transit, this section is practical, because faith without corresponding behavior is incomplete, and I want to give you something real to do with the truth you're receiving today. The season between the promise and the delivery is not empty time. It is the most productive season of your preparation if you use it correctly. Sharpen the skills the next season will require. Whatever abilities, knowledge areas, or competencies the financial shift is going to call on, develop them now, while the pressure of a changed financial reality isn't yet on you. The entrepreneur who spent the months before their business breakthrough mastering the skills their business would need didn't get lucky. They got ready. And readiness is what looks like luck from the outside. Clean up the financial landscape. The debts you've been avoiding thinking about, make a plan for them now, even a small one. The financial habits that belong to a smaller season of your life, begin replacing them now with habits sized for the season that's coming. The disorganization in your financial records, the avoidance of the numbers, the financial fog that comes from looking away from what feels painful, clear it. Not because clarity creates the money, but because clarity is what allows the money to be managed when it arrives. Develop the discipline of delayed gratification. The person who cannot delay gratification in small financial decisions will not be able to sustain it in large ones. Start practicing now. Make one financial decision each week that prioritizes the long term over the short term. Build the muscle. Because large financial abundance requires that muscle to be strong, and you are in the perfect season to strengthen it. Stay spiritually connected to the source, not performatively, genuinely. The prayer, the gratitude, the regular acknowledgement of dependence on God rather than on circumstances, these are not optional accessories to the financial breakthrough. They are the spiritual infrastructure that keeps the channel of blessing open both before and after the money arrives. The transit time is preparation time. Use it. The unexpected source will make the blessing undeniable. Let me tell you something about God's signature style in delivering large financial shifts, because understanding it will help you stay open to the right things rather than locked onto the wrong door. God almost never uses the most obvious channel. He almost never routes the blessing through the mechanism that the logical mind is watching most carefully. And this pattern is so consistent, so observable across so many different stories and so many different contexts, that it starts to look less like coincidence and more like deliberate design. Because it is deliberate design. When the financial blessing arrives through an unexpected source, through a direction you weren't watching, through a person you didn't predict, through a circumstance that couldn't have been engineered by any human strategy, the credit cannot be distributed anywhere except to God. The human mind cannot construct a logical pathway from effort to outcome and give itself the credit for walking it. The blessing arrives in a way that is simply too surprising, too precisely timed, too impossibly calibrated to the specific need to be explained by any mechanism other than divine intervention. And that undeniability, that clear, irrefutable fingerprint of God on the financial shift does something in the person receiving it that a logical, expected blessing simply cannot do. It obliterates the deepest layer of financial doubt. Not just the surface doubt about whether this specific blessing was real, but the underground doubt about whether God is real, whether he sees specific people in specific situations, whether prayer has ever actually moved anything. One undeniable divine financial intervention answers all of those questions permanently. So stop watching only the obvious doors. Give your attention equally to the unexpected conversations, the unusual opportunities, the people who cross your path in circumstances that feel slightly too specific to be random. Because the unexpected source of a large, unexpected financial blessing is already in motion, and it may be much closer to you right now than you realize. Your emotional readiness is just as important as your practical readiness. This truth is the one most often overlooked in conversations about financial breakthrough, and it is one of the most important. Receiving a large amount of unexpected money is not just a financial event. It is a psychological and emotional event of significant magnitude. And the person who is emotionally unprepared for it, who has not thought through the internal experience of receiving something this significant after a season this long, is at genuine risk of being destabilized by the very blessing they've been praying for. This sounds paradoxical, but consider what large, unexpected financial shifts actually do to a person's internal world. They dissolve a familiar identity. The identity of person who is struggling financially, which, as painful as it is, becomes a known quantity over time. A consistent context in which the self is understood begins to dissolve when the struggle ends. And the dissolution of a familiar identity, even a painful one, can produce unexpected grief alongside the joy, a disorientation, a strange loss of the self that was defined by the season that just ended. They create a new anxiety to replace the old one. The anxiety of financial lack is replaced by the anxiety of financial responsibility. What do I do with this? Who needs to know? What if I get it wrong? What if I lose it? These anxieties are different from the previous ones, but they are real, and they arrive quickly. They reveal unresolved worthiness issues. The question, do I deserve this? That stayed quiet during the struggle gets louder when the blessing is real and present and tangible. And if that question doesn't have a solid answer rooted in truth rather than performance, it can quietly undermine the financial decisions of the early breakthrough season. Prepare emotionally. Think through what it will feel like when the money arrives. Where will you sit? What will your first private response be? Who is the first person you will speak to, and what will you say? Rehearsing the emotional experience of receiving the blessing is not presumption. It is preparation. And preparation is what transforms a potentially destabilizing event into a deeply grounding one. The generosity you practice now determines the flow you experience later. I want to talk about the single most powerful thing you can do right now today, in the middle of the wait, before the money arrives, to accelerate and sustain the financial shift that is coming. Give. Not from your surplus, you don't have surplus yet. From your supply. From what you currently have, small as it might feel in proportion to what you're believing for. And I want to explain why this matters on a level beyond the spiritual principle, because the spiritual principle is real, but there is also a deeply practical psychology to generosity that changes the financial trajectory of the people who practice it. When you give generously from genuine lack, you are doing something radical to your own internal financial operating system. You are demonstrating not believing, not hoping, not affirming, but actually demonstrating through behavior that you do not operate from scarcity, that the resources moving through your life are not so precious and so finite that they cannot be shared, that you are a person through whom money flows outward as naturally as it flows inward. That demonstration rewires something at a very deep level. It shifts the relationship between you and money from one of anxious holding to one of confident flowing. And that shift from holding to flowing changes the way you make financial decisions, the way you engage with opportunities, the way you show up in conversations that could become financial turning points. The person who gives generously, even before they have much to give, tends to receive more, not as a magic formula, as the natural result of being someone whose relationship with money is characterized by abundance thinking rather than scarcity thinking, and abundance thinking attracts opportunities that scarcity thinking literally cannot see. Give now, whatever you have. Give it with faith and with joy, and with the clear-eyed understanding that you are not depleting your supply. You are demonstrating the posture that the coming abundance requires you to already be in. The people who need your breakthrough are already waiting for it. I want to take you outside of your own story for a moment, because the financial shift coming to you was never designed to be only about you. Right now, there are people in your life, specific, named people, not abstract beneficiaries, who are waiting for your breakthrough in ways they don't fully know how to articulate. Your children, or the children in your family, who are growing up watching how you navigate financial difficulty with faith and dignity, and who are going to grow up watching how you navigate financial abundance with wisdom and generosity. The example of that navigation is forming something in them that money cannot buy, and that your struggle, as hard as it has been, has already started building. There are people in your community who are one connection away from their own breakthrough, and that connection is you, positioned differently than you are today. People whose paths need to cross yours at a different level than your current financial position allows. People whose lives will change because of a conversation that can only happen after your circumstances shift enough to put you in the right room at the right time. There are causes, missions, and needs that are directly connected to the resources coming your way, not in a vague general sense, in a specific sense. God has already identified the purposes He is funding through your financial shift. He has already seen the people who will be served, the work that will be done, the impact that will ripple outward from the moment the money arrives in your hands and you steward it with wisdom and generosity. Those people are real. Those purposes are real. And they are waiting not impatiently, not in a way that pressures you, but in the way that genuine need always waits for genuine provision. Faithfully, hopefully, trusting that the God who saw the need also prepared the resource. You are the resource, and they are waiting. Let that motivate you on the days when believing just for yourself feels like a lift that's too heavy. Believe for them, move for them, hold on for them. The morning after the breakthrough is the most important morning of your life. I want to end the development section with a vision, not a fantasy, but a specific, grounded, real vision of a moment that is coming in your life. There is a morning approaching, a specific morning on a specific day that you do not yet know the date of. And on that morning you are going to wake up to a financial reality that is different from every morning that preceded it. Maybe it is the morning after the call that changed everything. Maybe it is the morning after the email, the notification, the conversation that opened the door that had been closed for so long. Maybe it is the morning when you check the balance that has been painful to look at and find a number that makes you look again because the first look didn't fully compute. However it arrives, that morning is coming. And when it comes, the first decision you make before any announcement, before any purchase, before any conversation with anyone, is the most important financial decision of your life. That first decision is this. Decide who you are going to be with this. Are you going to be the person who was changed by the blessing in the ways the blessing was always meant to change you? Generous, grounded, deeply, privately grateful, clear about the source and about the purpose, moving with wisdom rather than with the emotional momentum of relief? Or are you going to let the size of the shift overwhelm the wisdom you've developed, announcing before the roots are established, spending before the foundation is secured, changing the external life so fast that the internal life can't keep up? Morning is the crossroads, and everything that comes after it flows from the decision you make at that crossroads. Decide now, while the morning is still coming, who you will be when it arrives. Because that decision made in advance, in faith, with full awareness of what is at stake, is the difference between a blessing that lasts a season and a blessing that builds a legacy. The amount is already set, the date is already decided. Now stand ready. Everything I've shared today has been building toward this one final truth, and I want you to receive it with the full weight it carries. The large amount of unexpected money moving toward your life right now is not contingent on anything you have yet to do. It is not waiting for you to believe more perfectly, pray more consistently, work more diligently, or become more worthy than you already are. It was set in motion before this morning. The amount was determined before you woke up. The channel it's traveling through was built through the years of your life that you survived and the years of your faithfulness that you maintained. The date of its arrival is already on a calendar that you don't have access to, but that God has never lost sight of. What you have to do now is not force it, not manufacture it, not perform your way into deserving it. What you have to do now is stand ready. Ready means open hands, heart and mind open to the form it arrives in, even if it surprises you. Ready means prepared, the practical financial landscape cleared, the habits developing, the emotional groundedness deepening. Ready means faithful, continuing to move, to give, to pray, to show up for the life God has given you without treating the wait as evidence that the answer isn't coming. And ready means expectant, genuinely, personally, specifically expectant. Not in a performative way. In the way of someone who has heard a promise from a source that does not lie and has chosen to orient their entire inner life around the reality of that promise rather than the appearance of its delay. You are chosen. The money is moving. The amount is large. The source is unexpected. And the arrival, when it comes, is going to be one of the most significant moments in the entire story of your life. Stand ready for it. Because ready is the last thing you need to be before everything changes. And from everything I can see about where you are and what God has been building, you are more ready than you know. If this message found you at the right moment, if it said something your spirit needed to hear today, please subscribe to this channel right now and share this video with one person who is still in their waiting season and needs to be reminded that the money is already in motion. Every week, we come here to speak truth into the seasons that are hard to navigate alone. You found this channel for a reason. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and let's keep walking this road together. God bless you. The large amount is coming. Get ready.